the big companies, the big brands, the stories that you all know. Well, there is also a plethora of stories that you didn't know about. Small companies with humble origins, small roots, yet growing to be tall trees which are giving a great shadow to our economy, growing in leaps and bounds, giving employment, supporting small families. Are these not the stories that you and I should be knowing about? Perhaps you are also an owner of a small business and wondering, how far can I really grow? Instead of asking, why should I be looking at a limit? How can I grow beyond the horizon of Sri Lanka and grow and go into the region as well? This is the kind of inspiration that we like to deliver to you here in your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. This is Biznomics. I'm Tharindu Amarasekara. Today, we will be in conversation with two remarkable individuals who entered their family business and not just carried it on or carried it forward like it was, but rather took it to another level. My friends, if you're having your own business, I hope that you will find today's discussion to be extremely insightful. After all, small and medium businesses do give a massive contribution to the Sri Lankan economy. Even in the US, more than 60% of the contribution to the economy comes from family-owned businesses. How does one get involved in family business? How do you take it to the next level? Let's talk about that with the first guest of today, who is none other than Mr. Malaka Rubasinghe, Managing Director of the Singha Group of Companies. Mr. Rubasinghe, absolute pleasure to have you with us. Welcome to Biznomics.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Tharindu, for having me. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be here in your program.
Malaka, let's talk about the start. What was your experience getting involved in your father's business? Because as much as the outside world always thinks, it was anyway his family business, you can just walk in and start being who you are, I don't think the formula or the algorithm is that simple when it comes to that. So I'm interested to hear, I'm sure the audience is also interested to hear, what was that experience, getting involved in your father's business? How old were you and how did it all happen? Share that experience with us.
Spot on, Tharindu. I mean, it was never an easy thing. It was never an easy decision. So my father, who had been doing business for almost 35 years back then when it was my time to enter, he was pretty adamant from the beginning that I should never get stuck in the middle, because either I have to finish my studies. By any chance, if I wanted to join the business.
And your business is into furniture and
yes,
timber-related industries
that time? At that time, it was only predominantly we were looking at furniture-related manufacturing. So he was pretty adamant that I have to finish off my studies. So initially, I was at the State University, Colombo University. I was an undergraduate, and then I was finishing my CIMA and then CIM. So after all that, I got lucky to be a part of a corporate giant in Sri Lanka in the apparel industry. So I was working for 1.5 years. And then I realized it was never carved for me. I was never that person who could work behind a computer from 8 to 5. So I realized at an early stage, I was only 23 plus. So I realized that if I was to continue like this, I'm definitely not going to enjoy my career. So I said goodbye to my corporate experience, and then I told my father that I want to join. But then again, he said it's never an inheritance. I had to work my rank, I have to work up my ranks to get whatever I was supposed to get.
You're not going to get it, you have to earn it.
You have to definitely earn it, that's what he said. He wasn't that keen that I'm getting into the business initially, because he was never certain that I would continue to do it, because he always thought I should do whatever it pleases me. So then I had to work in the sawmills, I had to go work in the carpentry shops to get that experience, and then I had to report to certain people. And then only after a few years, I was taken as a proper part of decision making in the business. So it was good. In hindsight, I think I have no regrets, because I think all that experience gave me the real know-how, how to manage the business, how to be with the people, because that grassroots level experience was critical in handling people. So I think it was all good. And lucky me that I had the idea initially at the inception that I shouldn't be doing what my father was doing. I have to move on and have to get it to a different market or a different product line. So I was always keen on getting my own thing out. So I was lucky enough, my wife was an interior decorator. So she was always helpful to identify what we haven't done so far. So we identified certain segments and we tried our own thing, and it was a success. So I think we are very happy.
Excellent to hear that. And so you moved on from just making, let's say, furniture at a larger scale, and maybe from being a supplier of furniture for some of the big suppliers, for some of the big furniture brands of Sri Lanka. You were an initial supplier, but then you went on to build your own brand and your own set of products. We're going to come back to you on that more details, Malaka, later on. Now, I have another intriguing question. Father's way or your way? Now, in the road, sometimes when two vehicles are at loggerhead with each other, there's always the concern, no, my right of way, no, my right of way. Malaka, in family business, father's way, your way, because this is a common question for a lot of people. They have one way of looking at things, the father has one way of looking at things. Probably the father and son are watching the show right now and saying, look, we have this problem. Who has the right of way, Malaka?
Yes, I think to give an answer, it's going to be very difficult, because see, how I look at it is, my father did everything right at his time period. And then he built a business from the scratch. He came with no capital, nothing. He started from the scratch and he built a business. And he gave it to me, and then I started it on my own, a different division of it. And then I got into the business as a whole as well. So it had come to now almost 12 years I've been in the business. If I am to give that answer, who is right or who is wrong, who has the right of way, I would say the business should have it. Business should be looking at its sustainability and the future without asking the question who is right. Because what I believe is, I need to bring in people who can run it on behalf of me. If I'm not there, the business should run on its own. The show must go on.
Always.
Always. So whether my father did it right or whether I did it right, I would always say it should have its own right of way for the business. But in answering that question, if anyone is having any dispute over who is right or who is wrong, I think it's always good to consult each other. And then, I still go to my father when it comes to a strategic move, when it comes to any acquisitions, if it's a horizontal integration that I'm looking at, I always consult him, because, we have learned so many theories, but what they have gained over the years, experience matters. It is priceless. They are words of wisdom. They're priceless. So,
are you saying that your data versus, or rather, together with your father's gut, will always give the best solution?
Always the case. Always. I think it's a pretty good combination for us, and I hope it works for other businesses as well. But having said all that, we should never get bogged down by the fact that we know everything right. I think we should listen to others, because see, what I have done in my business, I have brought in specialists. I have brought in corporate experience to our business with individuals. I have a general manager who runs it on behalf of me. Most of our businesses now are being overlooked by him. So thanks to him, we get to see what transformation is there out there in the business world, digital transformation to be precise, because post-COVID, we have realized that everything is based on that. So I think we get to hear a lot, which we never knew. So I think it's always important for you to listen to others. So in your business journey, it is very important that you identify that juncture where you need to bring in people from outside, where you need to listen to them and get the business to move on in the right way.
Let's talk about building new products. As you very correctly said, your father built a very successful business into furniture, and I remember many times you've shared the story how you were initially supplying to some of the big brands. So here were the big brands selling the furniture that you all have made with a bit of value addition here and there perhaps, but it was always their brand name. And you, as the young son, a marketing student as well, you were seeing all this and you were feeling, no, it doesn't look right always. We need to go out there with our own brand in a stronger manner. How did you go from having a good, successful business to building a strong brand for your company and also introducing new products and so on with the product extensions? How did all that happen, Malaka?
Yes, that was the one thing I always wanted, was to give out something different. So differentiation was something I always looked at, something I always wanted to go with. So I realized that in the furniture industry, if you go to Morotu, everyone is basically doing everything. So I realized that there's a huge vacuum in the market where people need good quality furniture, and then they are willing to pay a certain price, a premium for that. So quality with affordability. Affordable quality was something I looked at. So I pitched at that particular market. So I started off with a different brand called Teak Spa, Teak Luxuries and Teak
You started
Elegance.
making teak-based furniture.
Teak-based furniture, because I identified that there is always a constraint in terms of production. We can't provide to the entire country. There is always a constraint. So we need to identify how to make the most of the profit from the resources available. So in identifying that, I saw people are willing to pay a little premium for a premium product. So identifying that, and with the resources I had, because we were given an advantage because of our established business. We handle the entire value chain, from the log coming in to the product going to the doorstep of the customer. We handle everything. So there was no intermediaries involved. The entire value chain was under one roof. So with that advantage, I wanted it to be branded in a separate way. So I had three different brands established in three different demographies. So I identified one as the Malambe. Malambe was a strategic location for me back then, but people were kind of raising eyebrows because 6-7 years it was kind of I was trying to get established inside a forest, inside a jungle. People were raising eyebrows.
Malaka went to Malambe.
Exactly.
Interesting combo.
Interesting combo. But I think with the highways and all those infrastructure coming, I realized that it would be a nice a strategic location.
And today it's a very residential area.
Exactly. If you look at the land prices, I think I made the right choice there. So with all those investments coming right, I think we have done right in terms of catering to that right audience. So building a brand from identifying the right market was my initial thing. But then I never I never stopped from there. For the group, Singha Group, it was not only about furniture, because we built a strong name for ourselves, being very trustworthy in terms of our products, in terms of our services. We were always telling the truth. We were never lying to our customers. Now, with that credibility around, I thought it would be high time that we move on to other businesses
So
as
you
well.
wanted to diversify.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I believe you have an interesting story on diversity there. We are going to come back to you on more details on that, Malaka.
Yes.
Stay tuned. We will be back after this short break. This is Biznomics. Welcome back to Biznomics, your weekend's most profitable 60 minutes. We are in conversation with Malaka Rubasinghe on how the dynamics of a family business works, the mantra to get it right, and he is sharing his experience on what really made it work for him. Malaka, now let's also get into the industry specifics here. You are from the furniture industry, and we have had several esteemed industry professionals from the furniture industry coming and talking to us about the challenges, about the way forward, and sharing some of the very unique stories. Because I believe when you're operating in a market like Sri Lanka, it's a market with potential, market with massive competition and amazing challenges. I believe it brings out the best in any businessman or a professional. In your perspective, now that we are looking at somewhat of a COVID situation, it's still too early to say post-COVID because we are still living in COVID times. How have you seen the dynamics of the furniture industry changing in terms of buyer behavior, in terms of the challenges you may be facing due to the dollar issue in Sri Lanka? Share with us your daily experiences with the furniture industry during these pandemic times.
Yes, Sarindu, it has been quite a challenging couple of years, I must say, because in terms of buyer behavior, there was a problem initially with COVID. People didn't want to buy. So we had to take extreme measures. We had to basically sell this furniture online, which was kind of a new thing. But we did go through certain case studies like Pepperfry in India. They tried that. They were part successful. So we tried certain...
Even IKEA for that matter.
Even IKEA for that matter. Because the thing is, the Sri Lankan market still, they prefer to touch and feel the furniture, because before they invest, they want to see physically what is available.
Just because the sofa looks good online doesn't mean I will feel comfortable when I sit on it.
Exactly. Dharandu, I have this kind of funny story. People, when they come to buy furniture, they never buy on their first visit. What I always say, on average, they have to come at least 3 or 4 times to our stores, to our showrooms, before they make the purchase decision. First, they see when they are driving, so they tell their spouse or partner, they bring that spouse or partner to the showroom, they show it, and then they bring their kids to get the consent, and then on their 4th attempt only they will purchase. So I have this funny kind of cycle that I always demonstrate. So with this kind of a buying behavior, it was initially difficult. But then coming back, there was this cocooning, I always call it the cocooning kind of behavior, because people were inside their houses. They wanted to beautify their houses after seeing that, okay, there were so many things that they could have improved. So with that, I think people started looking at furniture, which was a good thing. But then came this issue where sourcing was a massive, massive problem for all the players in the market. So,
and right now in the furniture industry in Sri Lanka, the sourcing, is it only coming from the Sri Lankan sources, or are we getting timber from foreign sources as well in general?
In general, I think majority of the timber is locally sourced. But all the other related raw materials are coming through imports. So there's a huge problem in terms of raw materials for wood, in terms of fabrics, in terms of other supplies. So I think more than anything, that is the biggest challenge what we are facing right now. But
so that challenge is still on.
That challenge is still on. And but to be very honest, the demand has given us a lot of hope, because there's so many inquiries that are coming our way, and people are interested to buy. So it is quite an encouraging trend that is happening. But who knows whether this will continue or whether there will be a solution for this. And I hope and pray that there will be a solution, because we as furniture makers are finding it really, really difficult. We are lucky in a way because we handle everything and we can do something. But I pity the small players, how they are going to survive in the market.
Malaka, furniture is also, as much as there is machinery, it's also quite labor intense. Now, in a pandemic time, what steps have you taken to make sure that you operate your furniture operations in a manner that the risk of COVID is minimized? Because I believe the nightmare would become even worse if you had to have a lot of your staff staying home due to certain COVID exposures, and this is the kind of situation that we are all living in. So how have you, what measures have you taken, especially to look after your people? Because when it's a family business, when it's small, people are also quite felt to be a part of the family. Correct. I mean, it is the quite common norm. They don't work for any particular career ladder or anything. They work for the family because they feel associated with the family. So I'm pretty sure they'll expect to be looked after as a family as well. Am I right? And what was your experience on that?
You're spot on there, Dharandu. So we had about 85 permanent cadre during the pandemic. So we made sure those who were not coming to work, they were provided an allowance and they were very well taken care of. And then those who were allowed to come, because we have a very, it's kind of a mixed cadre we have. People who are close by, they were allowed to come to work. People who are working from remote areas were not allowed. But some were provided lodging and food. That is how it works normally. So there was about 60 to 80% working, operational. So we provided them with whatever we could, and all their salaries, everything were paid on time, and they were very grateful for that. And I think they show their gratitude enough and more to that. As you correctly said, they don't work for a company. They work for a family here. They are family. They have realized that if they are to prosper, the company should prosper. So I think they have realized it, and we have done enough to get them to feel that way. I think we were lucky that way. We never had a labor-related issue. There were certain hiccups, but I think we managed to somehow get it on track.
It's not about how tough things get, but how well you manage to rough it out and move forward, isn't it?
Exactly.
Malaka, now, some of your staff members, they probably would have seen you as a baby, as a kid. They would have seen your father carrying you, and then you coming into the workplace now. Here you are, trying to set aside strategies. How do you really earn the respect from them, regardless of, I mean, beyond just being the owner's son or the founder's son? How do you really come to a level where they respect you for who you are, beyond your heritage? Because I believe that's a big problem today. A lot of young entrepreneurs or a lot of young family business individuals who get involved, they always face this problem where some of the staff continues to see them as, in the Sri Lankan terms, as the baby or the little one who is here because of the father. But how do you move things beyond that? How do you push that border?
Correct. It was quite frustrating, I have to be very honest, initially, because see, I had to basically earn it. They never basically took me as the person who's going to run it for them. Initially, I was just another family member joining the business. But luckily, I think I started on my own. My wife was there, myself, and there was one person only. It was only a 3-member sub-team who transformed the entire business to a different level. Initially, you won't believe it was so difficult for them to even greet each other, because getting them to say good morning was an issue, because they were not used to that.
That was not the culture.
That was never the culture. And we had a policy in our subdivision that we would never drag furniture on the work floor. So we had to lift it. That itself was a big issue for them, because they were so used to just carrying it on the floor rather than just lifting it. So there were so many stories. I mean, back then I used to get really frustrated. But then I had to earn it. I had to show results. I had to prove that, look here, this is how it should be done. And slowly but surely, they gave me that respect, and now they believe that what I have as a vision, the strategy that I have used, is working, and they should be a part of it. So I think I had to work it out the hard way, but it has worked, and I'm so grateful and no regrets, to be very honest.
So that's the path for any young entrepreneur, any young family business professional should follow, where they rough it out and they basically get that experience and start from bottom. That way they earn that respect. Okay. Some good thoughts there. Coming back to growth, you were beginning to share the story of how you were growing the business beyond just furniture. What has that strategy been, Malaka?
Growth. Honestly, Narendra, for me, growth is growth no matter how small it is. Because road to success is always under construction. That is one thing I always believe in. So if I'm to tell you how, or the strategy that I use in growth in my business, that would be to keep a satisfied customer. A satisfied customer is always the best strategy of all. So if you get that properly communicated to your staff, to your cadre, to your people, I think that is one winning point, and that is definitely the way forward. Because in my business, I have always kept it very simple. Make sure your end consumer is happy, whether it's furniture or whether it's leisure. The sector that we have got into now, I was talking about diversification, the growth, and getting into different businesses, not laying all your eggs in one basket. So all this made me to become an accidental hotelier, to be very honest. So we run a leisure venture, which is quite making a lot of waves around the Colombo crowd. So this actually happened because I followed my passion. So I believed in what I like, and then I need to give out the audience, the end consumer, what I like. So in saying that, the growth in our businesses had always one critical factor, that is not to let down our customers. Again, coming back to the satisfied customer. We always wanted to give something that would make people happy. We were never making furniture. We were making people happy by beautifying their spaces. That's what I always tell my sales staff. That's what I always tell my production teams. We are not just doing furniture. You're making someone happy. So the same way, when we go out to serve our guests at our leisure venture, we always make sure that they're happy at the end of the day. So I think if you just go with these values, growth or the right strategy will definitely follow.
Interesting point there. On a final note, Malaka, now you have your own sons. One day when they are joining you in business, what would be your advice to them, and how do you see you getting them involved? Are you seeing a reflection of what your father was when you were joining? tell us how that interesting transition is going to happen. Of course, I'm sure there is a lot more time for that, but I'm also quite sure you're slowly but surely getting ready for that.
Yes.
Because this is something important. Why I'm asking you this is, a lot of the time we see a common problem where beyond the third generation, a lot of Sri Lankan family businesses are on the decline. This is a confirmed report from some of the leading audit firms and leading business consulting firms in the world about Sri Lanka. And we have seen, of course, not to mention names, but we have seen this happening in certain large organizations as well. How do you plan to make that transition one day?
Tricky one. Tharudu, it's like this. See, when I was brought in, when I joined the company, I told you it was never an easy induction for me because I had to work, because I still hold my the t-shirt that I wore on the very first day. I hold it with a lot of pride because it still has the oil that got sprayed from my sawmill, the machinery. So that was kind of an experience I went through. As I told you, I had to earn it. So if my sons, I have 2 sons and a daughter, by any chance if they really want to join, they will have to earn it. They will definitely not be taken in just for the sake of bringing them in. They will have to earn it. And at the same time, I do not have a hard and fast rule saying that they should join. Because if they have their own path, they should be following their dreams, own dreams. There is no obligation for them to join the business as such. But one thing I will make sure is that, just to answer your question, or just to tell you,
if one of them want to join,
if one of them join, if they one of them want to join, I will make sure that the business is kept always young, because this is one thing that a lot of people miss out. We should never let the company grow old. It should be always young. The managers or the ones who are running it may grow old, but the business should always be young. So let the systems be there, the new mechanisms, the new controls, the new ways of doing business. They should always be brought in without looking at the investment, because that is definitely for the future. That's an investment for the future. By doing that, they will also like to join a company which is with the trend, which is updated with the current trends in the business world. I think that is one way, whether they want to join or whether this business to continue with or without us. That is one thing I would always make sure that is going to be there in our business into the future.
In other words, the show must go on.
A show must definitely go on, because the stewardship is one thing I believe in. There has to be a set of people running it with the proper knowledge, with the proper professional qualifications. We may be there with our values, with our proper ideas brought into the business. But there has to be a proper set of people running it on behalf of us. And then just to tell you that the business continuity and the success of a business should never be thought in the short run. It should always be in the long run. So if I'm to keep this business running for the 3rd or for the 4th generation, then definitely these things should be instated, whether I like it or not, whether they like it or not.
Malaka Rupasinghe, very inspirational to hear you. I'm quite sure the audience who was watching today's episode will definitely take some points from how you have been running your family business, and I sincerely hope that they will be able to transform their family business to the next level as well with the insights shared by you. Thank you for joining us, and we wish all the team members at the Singha Group of Companies all the very best.
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned. After the short break, we will be hearing from another young entrepreneur about how he is making waves in his family-owned business as well. This is Biznomics. Welcome back to Biznomics. Our very interesting topic today is centered around getting involved in family business, growing a family business. We have dedicated a few episodes on this before as well. And today, once again, we already heard from an exciting individual about how he made it through in the world of family business and how he keeps growing the family business. Now, we are about to hear from another very interesting young individual. He is still a student, having got involved in running the family business at a very tender age of the early 20s. What was his experience, and what can you, a young student, a young professional, learn from his journey so far? Please join me in welcoming the next guest of today's episode, who is none other than Mr. Manodya Opallage from OG Aluminium. Manodya, welcome to Biznomics. Absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much for having me, sir.
Now, Manodya, as a young student, how did you manage your time in handling your business activities as well as your studies? Because I believe you were involved in running the business, you worked together with your father, it's a growing business, growing industry, and at the same time you're also studying, working on your degree and other study programs. How do you really balance all this?
Yes, managing time is definitely a challenging task, especially when it comes to I'm following a degree and involved in this business. But rather, I enjoy this balancing this both of the task in my hand, because especially it just inspired me to go and speak to the employees. I dedicate some amount of time in every day, go to factory, speaking about the sales figures and the challenges that they are having. And it not only inspires me, but it inspires the employees as well.
Naturally, because you are the owner's son, and when you are coming and talking to them, they feel happy because they see the business can also continue and that the next generation is also ready for the business. Am I right?
Yeah, maybe that's true. But other than that, they are just need that close contact with the business, because they just need that they are also a part of this big community. That's what we are doing. So managing time is definitely a challenging, but I accept it as a challenge, and since today, I'm all good managing my degree.
Excellent to hear that, Manodya.
Yeah.
Now, also your business, it's into the production of aluminium-based products.
Exactly.
And your father had very humble origins as well, started from scratch, started from the beginning. My question to you is, when it comes to working, and I asked this from the previous speaker also, how do you balance your style of management and your father's style? Because your father also works very closely with the people. You also go and work closely with the employees. But your father's style of management is different. And here you are, a young graduate student, studying for several foreign qualifications. You've learned more things, you've learned about the world. So you're having a different style of management. How do both these two things come into a nice mix?
Well, having said that, even though I have this experience, there's no substitute for, even though I have this paper qualification, I would say there's no substitute for experience. But I'm more closer towards our employees, because they just want to feel that they are a part of a big community. I just don't give them the task to complete, but rather I give them a responsibility, and I give them a value that they are also a part of this big OG team. So that's how I'm
So that's your style of management. So when it comes to working together with your father, I'm sure it's not always a smooth experience. Your father will have one different set of ideas, you have a different set of ideas. How do you balance the clash?
Maybe no, there's no clash, to be honest. But he just respect our idea, and
Very
he
good.
always listen to our ideas as well. So maybe there's no clash, but we are coming together and we collaborate each and every one of ideas, and we provide the solution together. That's how I'm managing my styles as well.
So you try to figure out what's best for the business, not whether it's your idea or whether your father's idea, which idea is better for the business. I think that's a very good way to go forward. And coming from a young professional like you, a young budding entrepreneur like you, Manodya, it's good to hear that. Now, you're also a new generation family member. And we see in a lot of family business, the first generation, second generation, they are very busy running the business day to day, day to day. You're the son of the family, you're the new generation member. So you are expected to bring in that innovation, something new. And I know that you are someone who is very passionate about innovation. Manodya, in your company, how do you drive innovation? Have you worked on any new products using innovation? How do you bring in innovation to your family business?
Yes, innovation is definitely a key for our business, or rather in any business in general. But together with myself and I have an elder sister and younger brother as well. So we together bring new ideas for the table, and we are always updated with the current situation, what are the trends going on in the world, and we try to apply them in our factory. So it's quite astonishing that we can do so much things in Sri Lanka with the limited resources that we have.
Now, Manodya, you're also into the manufacturing sector. And specifically today I wanted two members from the manufacturing industry to come, Malaka being in the earlier segment and now you, because there is this misconception, wrong idea that Sri Lanka is not a place for manufacturing, that if it's manufacturing, go to Vietnam, China, India. But you're in the field of aluminium production, and sometimes even those things people might say, no, we can get them from other countries, but you're in a business that is producing things out of aluminium. How has that experience been? Tell us.
Well, that misconception, I should say, it is not, I mean, in Sri Lanka, we can do so much of things because we have so much talent hidden in Sri Lanka. And with the limited resources I have, as I mentioned, we can do so much of things. If you just visit the other industries as well, maybe they are doing things that we can't believe. When it comes to our factory, we have a history of 57 years. Actually, my grandfather started it, not my father.
Excellent.
Yes,
So you're the third generation.
coming up third generation, yes, with my siblings, together with my siblings. So we can do so much here, especially we are melting that raw aluminium products. We are melting the products and we are making some user and consumable wearables, kitchen utensils. Now, a funny story. Now, what my father used to tell is that if you give me a bus, we can give you this number of pots. At the same time, if you give me this number of pots in our factory, we can give you a bus at the other end. So we are not only us, but there are so many industries in Sri Lanka that have these excellent capabilities.
So Sri Lanka is definitely having the potential for manufacturing.
Exactly.
Period. Full stop.
Full stop.
Nice to hear that. Tell me some unforgettable advice you have got from your father. And please, father-son moments are very intimate. Father-son moments are very special. So please share with me some unforgettable advice that you have got from your father, and maybe some unforgettable experiences, because I believe when you share these with our audience, they too will begin to see the value of family business, and hopefully the fathers and sons, the fathers and daughters for that matter, they all can work together and make sure their family business grows. So, Manodya, tell me some unforgettable advice and unforgettable moments you have had with your father in business. Can be very inspiring ones, can be very entertaining and fun ones as well. Please share.
Well, as I mentioned, there's no substitute for the experience. So my father is an expert in this field for quite a few decades now. Now, there are so many unforgettable advices, but there's this one advice that I never forget, is that he taught me how to do this pricing in a very strategic manner. Because most of the companies, they misunderstand this term of pricing. So they either underprice or overprice of the products. But my father, he taught me how to identify our customer segment, how to identify their buying power, and most importantly, how to balance the equation or relationship between the value and the money. So my father always taught that there is one key capability, one capability that we have, or one uniqueness, is that we always carry this quality. So that is one of the biggest advices that my father gave to me, and he just reminds me over and over again that we should carry this quality in our business.
Manodya, the line of work which you are in, aluminium products, and even if you take, for example, your factory, your workshops, etc., it's heavily people driven. There is a lot of labor involved, and finding labor these days is not very easy. At the same time, when laborers or employees are working for a family business, they are not really working for the business, they are more like working for the family. It's that bond, the beautiful bond between the family and these employees, and that's something that needs to be nurtured. You said you go and talk to them very often. Now, that's fantastic. But at the same time, over the years, how do you see as the business is growing, the business looking after the family members? Do you think that's also important?
Exactly. Why not? Having said that, we are heavily dependent on skilled labor rather than just laborers, because that skill should be passed to generation, and that skill can be only gained from the experience. So I do not forget to admire the experience, to remind them that they are valuable asset for our company as well as for our family. So that bond is really important, because maybe the employees are not because of the business, but they are because of the bond that we have, that we are sharing together. So that's something that we should think of, yes.
On a final note, Manodya, technology. And in many instances, a lot of family businesses, they are very late to adopt technology. And I think I shared this statistic earlier as well. Most of the time, we don't see family businesses continuing beyond the third and fourth generation. And lack of technology adoption is another key reason. I believe you play a massive role in bringing in technology into your family business. How is that experience, and how do you see young entrepreneurs of family businesses being able to, young family members, being able to bring in technology transformation into the family business? Share your thoughts with us.
Technology is something, yes, definitely we should be able to bring to the family business, not in the family business, in every business as well. So yes, I'm playing this major role, incorporating technology into our business. Having said the technology, it's not only the technology, but the new techniques as well, because we are having these traditional techniques that still we are following. But maybe we can incorporate the technology with a less number of labors and with a less number of cost as well. So I think each and every entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs, they should always look for the new ways to do things in a new way, in a new manner. It should be maybe bringing new products or new methodologies, but whatever it is, the new technology should be always there to keep the business growing. And also, the business should be always young, as I heard from the previous speaker.
Manodya Upalage, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your valuable thoughts. Wishing you and the team at OG Aluminium all the best to prosper, and we only hope that this family-owned business that has grown today to being a national level business, we only see and sincerely hope that it will grow and become an international brand in the future one day. Wish you all the best, and thank you for joining Biznomics.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
If you're running a family business, or if you plan to get involved in the family business, remember, do not look at trying to grab your place or just walk in. Get in there, get your hands dirty, and make sure you earn your place in that family business. After all, majority of the Sri Lankan economy depends on family business. Globally, family businesses are doing wonders as long as it's managed well. And most importantly, keep your family business young. I'm Tharanga Amarasekara, and no matter what business you may be in, even if you're a family business, have a profitable week ahead. I'll see you with the next episode. This is Biznomics.